Jiwon, a married woman facing the final months of her life, uncovers a devastating betrayal. Her husband has been cheating on her with her best friend. He shoves her, and she hits her head on a table, resulting in her untimely death. But just when it seems all hope is lost, she is granted a second chance at life. In the hospital, Jiwon is frantic, desperately texting her husband to return her money, but he's left her on red and hasn't answered her calls. The nurses notice his absence, and one day, when one of them enters her room, she's shocked to find Jiwon missing. Jiwon steps outside and is hit by the realization that it's already spring. She catches a cab, and the driver, noticing her frail condition, tries to comfort her in a voice that reminds her of her father. "Today is a gift," he says, "something someone wishes for before they die." But Jiwon struggles with the idea of tomorrow. What good could it possibly bring? As they arrive at her apartment, Jiwon pays the fare, but the driver refuses, saying she's his last customer on his final day. Instead, he gives her a piece of candy and makes two wishes: that she'll find wealth and true love, urging her to promise him she'll live happily. She agrees. Jiwon unlocks her apartment door, only to be greeted by a pair of red high heels next to her husband's shoes. Panic sets in. Those heels belong to Sumin, her best friend. Approaching the bedroom nervously, she overhears them discussing how to access her insurance money. Peering through the door, her heart shatters as she sees her husband and Sumin in bed, naked. Jiwon is stunned as she hears her husband casually mention he's already taken some of her insurance money, while Sumin excitedly asks for a designer bag, using that Jiwon's insurance money. "Just wait until she's dead in 6 months," her husband says. Fueled by rage, Jiwon storms into the room and demands, "Says who?" Their shock quickly turns to panic as they scramble to explain. "You think I'm going to let you get away with this?" she shouts. "I'll go for alimony. Post this on the company bulletin board, tell your families, and leak it online. You'll never show your faces in public again." Sumin pleads with her, but Jiwon is furious. What kind of friend sleeps with her husband? Sumin drops to her knees, terrified of what her colleagues and family might think if they knew about the affair. Her taunt about Jiwon's impending death ignites a fierce confrontation. Jiwon grabs her by the hair, and they struggle. Just then, her husband slaps Jiwon across the face, leaving her in shock. "Do you have a problem with that? You're as good as dead," he snarls. Jiwon fires back. "Whose fault is it that I'm here? It's you and your parents. You belittled me for growing up without a mother, and when my dad died, you blew my savings on stocks. I would have lived if I'd gone to the hospital sooner. I'll take you all down with me." In a fit of rage, her husband slaps her again, this time sending her crashing into a table. Blood spills from her head as she begins to fade, hearing her husband's indifferent remarks about her life hanging in the balance. In her final moments, she recalls a promise to her father, to live a happy life. Suddenly, a voice jolts her awake. It's a colleague from years ago, asking if she's okay. Confused, Jiwon is stunned. She's supposed to be dead. She looks in the mirror and sees a younger version of herself. Memories flood back. She was beaten to death by Minwon, her husband. Her phone rings, and she glances at it, realizing it's her old flip phone from 10 years ago. The realization hits her. She's gone back in time. As she grapples with this impossible reality, a familiar voice pulls her back. It's Minwon Park, her husband from her past life, and she shudders, wondering what he wants. As Jiwon turns and sees Minwon's face, a flood of painful memories rushes back. She quickly looks away and gets out of the room, but he grabs her hand, concerned about her condition. "Why are you treating me like this?" he asks. But Jiwon reacts sharply, pulling her hand free and demands him not to talk to her or look at her. Just then, Sumin enters, curious about the commotion. The sight of her best friend sends Jiwon spiraling into anger, bringing back the pain of her past life. The moment she locks eyes with Sumin, fury ignites within her, and she fights the urge to lash out. A voice breaks through her dark thoughts. It's Assistant Yang. "The manager is looking for you," she informs her. Jiwon returns to her desk, trying to focus on her 10 years at the company. Her mind drifts to Yoo Ji-hyuk, the quiet manager who always keeps to himself. When she approaches him, he reminds her, "This is a workplace. Please keep your personal issues separate." He hands her a document along with a handkerchief and adds, "Controlling your emotions is a skill too. Don't disturb your colleagues." Jiwon nods, feeling the weight of his words. As she leaves, she accidentally trips over a trash can, but the manager catches her just in time. Flustered, she thanks him and hurries away. At her desk, Jiwon places the document down, eager to leave, but the earlier events replay in her mind. When she steps into the elevator, she stumbles, drawing surprised looks from onlookers. She bolts out of the building due to embarrassment and is greeted by the spring air and blooming cherry blossoms. Her phone rings. It's her current boyfriend, Minwon. She stares at the screen for a moment before hanging up. Glancing across the street at a bus station, she hops on a bus, reflecting on what she was doing 10 years ago. This was the year she married her boyfriend. Just then, her manager calls to remind her about some additional documents. "I will check them tomorrow," she says, but doubt creeps in. Will tomorrow ever come? Feeling something in her pocket, Jiwon pulls out the taxi fare and candy the driver gave her. Memories of his kind wishes flood back, reminding her of her father. She is touched and resolves to live a happy life, no matter if it's a miracle or an illusion. Meanwhile, Minwon stares at his call history, frustrated that Jiwon hasn't answered. What's going on? He wonders, noticing her bag left behind. Sumin approaches, asking, "Can't reach Jiwon?" Minwon replies, "I'll find her after work. I need to bring her purse." "What happened?" Sumin asks, concerned. "Just some unpleasant business," he replies. She suggests, "Let's get her chicken from her favorite place. She'd love it." Minwon agrees, but their conversation is interrupted by the manager, reminding him to focus on work. Sumin checks her phone, scrolling through unanswered messages to Jiwon. She thinks, "Kang Jiwon, now you don't even bother to read my messages, do you?" As Jiwon arrives at her apartment, she pauses before entering, realizing the passcode is her boyfriend's birthday. In a bold move, she changes it to today's date, symbolizing her fresh start. Stepping inside her old home from 10 years ago, she glances to her right, spotting framed photos of her best friend and boyfriend, along with a yellow duck, a token from Sumin that symbolizes their friendship. Jiwon recalls Sumin's words about liking whatever she likes, and in that moment the betrayal stings. In a fit of anger, she tosses the doll and photos into the trash. Jiwon rummages through her belongings to find her bank book. Checking her account balance, she discovers 10 million won from her father that she never touched, along with another 10 million in house deposits. But with 20 million in debt to the bank, she wishes she could remember lottery numbers. An idea strikes her. Her boyfriend loves stocks. Though he's lost money before, he's made a fortune recently, using her salary to fund his ventures. Just then, her phone buzzes with a text from Minwon asking if she wants fried chicken after work. Annoyed but resolute, she decides to give him and Sumin a taste of her comeback. Minwon reads her response. "I don't need fried chicken. Let's meet at the street food vendor in front of my house." Skeptical about her tone, he's about to text back when his manager interrupts, reminding him to focus on work. While handing in a report, the manager notes something's missing and demands a redo. Frustrated, Minwon receives a note of encouragement from Sumin. He replies with a note of his own, letting her know they'll be hitting the street food vendor instead of the chicken place. Meanwhile, Sumin thinks to herself that Jiwon doesn't even care about her messages, even as she happily agrees to the plan. Back at home, Jiwon stares into her wardrobe, frustrated by her lack of decent clothes. As she sits down to apply makeup, she realizes she has none. Looking in the mirror, she mutters, "This is my last meal with him. I can't go out like this." Determined to at least fix her hair, she remembers the last time she used her curling iron, a painful memory that ended with a burn. With caution, she picks up her phone, recalling how she got tangled in the cord last time. This time, she manages to avoid the burn, and a spark of realization ignites within her. She can change her destiny. Just then, another message from Minwon pops up. "I'm on my way. I have a present for you." Jiwon raises an eyebrow at the word present, triggering memories of a dinner where Sumin tagged along. An idea blooms. What if she has Sumin marry her boyfriend? At the street food place, Jiwon sits sipping her drink, eagerly awaiting Minwon's arrival. Just as she expected, Sumin pops up, greeting her with a cheerful smile and announcing that the meal is on her. Minwon suggests Sumin is here out of concern for Jiwon, and she seizes the moment to order everything on the menu. "I like whatever Jiwon likes," she adds, grinning. Jiwon's eyes land on the earrings Sumin gifted her, a reminder of their friendship that she now realizes doesn't fit her at all. When Minhwan asks how the two became friends despite their different styles, Sumin responds, "My Jiwon had no friends growing up, so she always clung to me. We were the same height back then, but now I'm still petite. Jiwon, on the other hand, is like a giant. I'm so jealous." Annoyed, Jiwon fires back, "Our meals are the same. I've grown, but what about you? What have you been doing?" Sumin looks taken aback, but quickly tries to lighten the mood by raising her glass. Jiwon observes their interactions, noticing how fake they seem. As a waiter places a dish of boneless chicken feet on the table, Sumin recoils dramatically. "Ah! So horrible!" she exclaims, while Jiwon digs in, enjoying the dish. "Last time, you ordered chicken feet with me and 3 bottles of soju," Jiwon reminds her, but Sumin pretends not to remember. Just then, a woman carrying a hot bowl of soup stumbles as a drunk man bumps into her, spilling the soup all over on Jiwon's wrist. Sumin rushes to help, but Jiwon slaps her hand away. "Stay away from me," she snaps, heading to the restroom. As she rinses her burned wrist, memories flood back. "My wrist was burned again. I fell in front of the elevator last time. Will I have to marry that bad guy again?" But Jiwon resolves that this time will be different. She won't let the same fate repeat itself. Returning to the table, she finds Sumin and Minwon chatting happily. Suddenly, Sumin asks, "What do you like about Jiwon?" Minwon replies, "She's kind, smart, and no one else can match me like she does." While Jiwon thinks Sumin and Minwon might be a better match. When Sumin asks Jiwon to feed her, Jiwon shoves a massive bite into her mouth, causing Sumin to cough. "Seems you're drunk," Let me get you a taxi home, Jiwon says, despite Sumin's protests. She insists on taking Sumin to a cab, determined to send her home. As Jiwon sends Sumin off, Minwon sits alone, contemplating how much he enjoyed Sumin's presence. Jiwon never does cute things, or acts cute. She's less attractive, he thinks. When Jiwon returns, he compliments Sumin's cuteness. Jiwon pours him a glass of soju, and Minhwan notices something on her glasses. She takes them off to wipe them. You look more beautiful without your glasses. Don't you want to get laser surgery? Minwon asks. Feigning a smile, Jiwon replies, I'll think about it next vacation. By then, will my salary have increased, or should I invest in stocks? Surprised by her interest in stocks, Minwon agrees to teach her. They chat about investments all night, and when they reach Jiwon's home, he kisses her on the forehead. She feels disgusted. Once inside, Jiwon heads straight to bed. She opens her flip phone and plays back a voice recording from their conversation about stocks. Satisfied, she smiles and thanks her boyfriend for breaking down the stock market for her. It's a small victory, but it's a step toward taking control of her life.